I don't know how to transition into like different scenes or whatever, so Zach can hopefully fix all this and I'll figure it out in time. But if you're gonna buy some latex gloves to put your motor together, don't buy these. They're trash. If you look at them hard, well, first of all, that's ridiculous. If you look at them hard, they just rip. They're garbage. Don't buy those. I bought them at AutoZone. They're trash. But if you're gonna use an old crappy timing cover, black RTV this. It will leak. Then the other thing to pay attention to is you have a water pump gasket and you have a water pump backing plate gasket. So that is the actual water pump gasket. And this is the gasket that goes between the backing plate and the water pump. Don't mix those up or you'll fill the engine with coolant, the oil pan with coolant, through that right there. Well, I don't know if you can even see that. Through that right there. If you put this gasket on here, you'll have a problem. Just like that. It will fill the oil pan with coolant. So do yourself a favor, buy some 4.5 inch long 5/16, 18 bolts, cut the heads off them, put them into the block. It'll help put the timing cover on. I'm actually gonna do this out of order because it's what I'm doing, and I'm not putting the intake on. Normally I would just put the timing cover on for now and then put the water pump on later because there's a little hose that goes between the intake and the water pump, but I will just struggle bus to do this tonight so it's done. So I'll get my water pump back in plate, where that's at. Buy a new one. They're like 25 or 30 bucks. I'll post a link to the Amazon store, wherever I got this. I don't know. I'll look it up. I'll post a link to it. They're cheap. This is an actual motorsport one. So buy some long bolts, cut the heads off them, use them as guides. It'll make your life a lot easier. I don't know who packages gaskets, but they really don't care about their life. Ultra black RTV inside here. Just a real thin layer. Just to make sure it doesn't leak. Get right down here real well. You can see where the old gasket was. Other side real well. Make sure it goes all the way down to the pan rail because the pan's going to meet right there. And it is actually pretty hard to seal these engines. Especially because they're old. So that's RTV'd. Push that not so flat gasket on there. Try and get that lined up. I could probably use more dowels down here, but it'll work for now. These aren't that bad to line up. RTV on there too to make up the horribly corroded spot. And your timing cover. If you have a timing cover like what I have, because I'm not going to buy a new timing cover. Because this whole motor is going to be a giant waste of money. Some of this gasket won't actually get pinched by the timing cover, but it's better just to make sure you have enough to where it's not an issue. Alright, all my bolts are the wrong length except for the original water pump, or the original bolts that go through the timing cover and the water pump. The bolts that go through the timing cover, I believe, are supposed to be 1 7/8", but I hope you know what I forgot. Grease your seal. Take a healthy amount of grease and just smear it inside there so that swing weight doesn't burn it up. I'll probably grease the swing weight anyway, but grease that up, get it started at least. These bolts, I believe, are supposed to be 1 7/8". These are 2-inch bolts, is all I can get at Rural King today. So that's why there's 2 washers, so don't judge my double washer. And if you do, I don't really care. But get a bolt started, pull the gasket into place. Make sure that one's started in the right spot. I'm just getting them loosely started. I set the motor TDC so I can set the timing pointer because I have to pull a timing pointer off another motor and I'm not actually sure if it's the right one. So hopefully these all tighten up. I already put Molly lube on all these. Normally I would actually glue Loctite these just so they don't vibrate out. I already have a hole in this glove. Well, this motor's going to come apart relatively soon, so tighten those down a little bit, just snug them up. But that is actually nearly all the bolts that go through. You still have your top ones, so don't go crazy with these because you have to line up the water pump. But they look to be decently lined up. Snug those up a little bit, don't go crazy. It's a brand new water pump, so I'm not going to RTV the gasket to the backing plate, but I am going to RTV the timing cover right here because it's really corroded badly. So I'll RTV that, and then I'll put the gasket on the backing plate, and I'll put the water pump on. So make sure we use the right gasket. That can go on. Then your backing plate can go on. Then that gasket can go on. Like I said, make sure you use the right gasket in the right location. If you're real sad when you pump a brand new engine full of coolant. And then I have, these are the factory water pump bolts. These the bolts I told you to buy are actually not the ones I bought. I bought 4-inch bolts, so I wasn't paying attention. Let's see, I can barely reach in there. So get that started. That one started. Like I said, I wouldn't typically put the water pump on right now just because it's going to be a pain to put that hose that goes, the bypass hose that goes right there. It's relatively inconvenient to put on. Okay, I told you guys I was going out of order, and that's because I was waiting on an oil pump pickup, and an oil pump drive shaft. If you're going to run a high volume pump, one of those, you have to run a hardened oil pump drive shaft. The factory ones and the ones that come with the Melling pumps will break. So if you don't have an MSD distributor, replace the pin in the gear to a solid rivet of some kind from like McMaster car, or a good roll pin, or run an MSD Pro Billet distributor, and run a hardened oil pump drive shaft. This is actually a billet chromoly one from Milodon. They're only like 25 bucks on Amazon. They're an awesome deal. They're a lot cheaper than the, well, I guess not a lot cheaper, they're cheaper than the ARPs. They're still made in the US. You have to run a hardened oil pump drive shaft. You can't torque these bolts. So I read Loctite to make sure your gasket's on right. That's wrong. That's right. Make sure your gaskets are on correctly. Set this thing in place. And like I said, red Loctite the gasket, or red Loctite the bolts, or you will have a problem. Lube your oil pump drive shaft so the distributor goes in nice. Set your gasket on appropriately. say an excessive amount of red Loctite will go a long ways. You don't want your oil pump to fall off. So I'm sure somebody will comment about how they torque theirs, which I don't torque them. I red Loctite them and tighten them very hard. Make sure you check play in the oil pump drive shaft. Excessive play, if you go to pull the screwdriver, you can actually lift the drive shaft out of the oil pump and drop it into the pan. It will be real bummed. So make sure there's some play, but make sure it is engaged in the oil pump. Tighten this thing down. I red Loctite these on. I'm sure somebody has a way of torquing these. I don't torque them. Make sure you have play in your drive shaft. That's actually too much. You should only have about 50 thou, but it'll be fine. It didn't fall out. The engine's upside down. So I don't torque these. 3/8 bolt. Red Loctite and very tight. You'll be sad if your oil pump falls off. This is a Melling pickup. I might have to bend the mounting tab a little bit. We'll see. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. And to drop the gasket into the engine. It's not ideal. All right, I'll fish that out and be back when that's bolted on after I struggle bust for a minute.